What's up, everybody? Happy Monday and welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at you, Liddy, Michael Brooks, Reed Phillips, Taylor DeHart. Adams Digest is in here. Hit the like button if you could. This is going to be a great day. We're covering Major League Baseball. We're covering the NFL. We got a lot to talk about. Let's see how we did on yesterday's recap screen for Sunday Night Football, but also, of course, on Friday's show. Quite the mix here. We end up going 7-6, which we're playing about even there. Probably lost a little bit on the juice. I lose my Matt Stafford play. Should have hit that one. But I do hit the Packers team total from the Friday play I gave out. Mike McClure, always a check mark next to him. And he gave you a lot on SportsLine as well. We'll try to improve on 7-6. A lot of picks here, a lot to digest. And I'll tell you what, we got Monday Night Football tonight, and we've got the prime time show tonight as well at 7:15. It's the entire crew, prime time, 7:15 for Monday Night Football. You're not going to want to miss that. But I'll say this. If you have any questions about that game, put them in the chat because I am up to speed on this game. I can talk props. I can talk sides. I can talk totals. And I think the stars of the show can do that too. Let's bring them in. We got Mike McClure. We got the sniper. And we got Larry Hartstein, the maestro. Mike, I got to ask you a couple things I want to tell you, but I want to ask you it off the bat. You had a nice weekend. You were big on Sam Darnold in our Fantasy Football Today DFS show, among other quarterbacks. You love that Vikings game. You played it in Survivor. Your reaction from the first weekend of football?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in the first week of the season. The rookie quarterbacks, though, historically bad in terms of some of their efficiency numbers. Jaden Daniels made it look a lot prettier with his legs. He's got Lamar Jackson upside with his legs, but the passing certainly is concerning. Caleb Williams, not great. Some other big question marks. The Cleveland Browns really got some questions to answer there going forward. But overall, great week. The primetime games have been phenomenal, which has been really great to see. And I think we have another great one tonight.
Yeah, Larry, we do have another great one tonight. I know you have a pick in that game. Your reaction from the first weekend of football, was there a team that stuck out or a quarterback that stuck out, good or bad?
Well, Mike talked about the rookies struggling. What about some of the veterans like Deshaun Watson holding the ball for over 5 seconds on fourth down and taking a sack? The processing is not there. And Kirk Cousins unable to move. So you see that these guys come back from a long layoff, a no preseason, and you just expect them to right away be able to process what they're seeing, and it's not happening. But I think the biggest disaster of the day in terms of people that underperformed is Antonio Pierce. 4th and 1 on the 43 of the Chargers, down by 6 points. In the fourth quarter, you punt the ball. They march it 92 yards to end the game. And you know what he said? It was a long one. It was a long one.
Well, the only pushback I'll give there is I thought the Raiders defense was looking good enough to potentially get a 3 and out and get the ball back at like their own 40, something like that. I kind of understood the play, but it of course backfired. J.K. Dobbins reemergence there. Sniper, any thoughts on the Bears? Let's be real here. They should have lost to the Titans, and the Titans aren't a very good football team. Will Levis kind of nursed the Bears back to life towards the end of the game there. Your thoughts on the Caleb experience and the Bears in general week one?
I'm still obviously riding the Caleb Williams train, but he was awful straight up. I mean, you could say different aspects of the game, like Keenan Allen dropped a touchdown pass. The offensive line was terrible all game, but those aren't really excuses for Caleb Williams either. He was bad, but first game, we'll see. I still had fun because my favorite team won and came back from 17-0. And it felt like one of those Kyle Orton, Lovie Smith era wins. Or we could go back to 2001 where it seemed like a bunch of pick sixes won a lot of games that season too. So I've seen wins like that before, usually with quarterbacks that we thought were a lot worse than Caleb Williams. So hopefully that was just, hey, he's a rookie, he's learning.
No, totally fair on that. And that I think goes for Jaden Daniels and some of those other quarterbacks as well. Hopefully they can turn it around with their arms in particular. All right, Sniper, I want to get to your 2 picks, but Mike, I do want to tell you something. I was alerted to something last night, a tweet from one of our FFT DFS listeners and a member at SportsLine. This person, I'm going to tweet this out later because it's so impressive. He wagered $18 across 5 lineups. Mike, he won $2,750. And he said he watched FFT DFS, listened to the podcast as well a second time, I believe. And then he just pulled some picks from SportsLine, put 5 very small time lineups together with only $18 across 5 lineups, and again won $2,750. That is certainly not the norm, folks. I'm not pretending everybody's going to win that kind of money. But if you're not, I mean, if you didn't catch that first show with me, Mike, and Make Shop, you really missed out from a prop, fantasy, and a DFS perspective. So I strongly encourage you all to make a note on your calendar, 11 o'clock. FFT DFS on Thursdays. Mike, your reaction, 18 to 2,750.
It's definitely the kind of return that you love to see. And I think it's a really important message for some of you out there. I know a lot of you are betting on sports and maybe you're intimidated by DFS. Is it just looks a little daunting having all the player salaries, having to build lineups, things like that. But the important thing to note there is, again, it's a minimal investment at $5, right? You can have a lot of fun, a lot of entertainment with it. But the beauty of DFS like that is you capture that upside that you just referenced, Sia, but there's still way more to the picture than that. It is not the same as betting a $5 parlay where you must simply be perfect or you return nothing. Here, you can very easily double your money. You can very easily have a significant range of returns because, again, you're competing against other users in the standings. You're not competing for a perfect 5 of 5, 6 of 6 kind of parlay type slip. So definitely watch FFT DFS with Sia and I and Meg, and at least consider giving it a try, because I do think that it is a better alternative for most people than betting on 5 and 6 leg DFS type parlays.
And if you have any questions about DFS, you can ask us as well, whether it be on the show or you can tweet at me. All right, let's get to some picks for Monday Sniper. We're going to start with you. Major League Baseball feels like the undercard to some degree because football's back, if I'm being honest. But the money pays the same, right? You've got 2 picks for the Diamond.
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally understand when we take a backseat to football. I mean, football's a monster. I get it. We are going to go to Philadelphia, and I'm going to go with the Phillies on the run line, or shout out to my man Buckets on the RL. The Phillies, they've lost 2 games in Miami, but they're returning home. They're 47-25 in Citizens Bank Park this year. Amazing at home. Christopher Sanchez on the hill, the all-star. He has a 2.24 ERA at home this season and is averaging 6 2/3 innings per game. Plus, after they lost those 2 games in Miami, their best late inning bullpen arms are all fully rested. So get Sanchez through 7, 2 innings with the bullpen should be easy work. The Rays have a bullpen game here. The Phillies like to hit at home, so I like the Phillies to win this one by multiple runs. Should not be difficult at all. Also, Dodgers over 5.5 runs. Speaking of not very difficult, Kyle Hendricks is on the mound for the Cubs. That should not be very difficult for the Dodgers. Now, once upon a time, if I can bring up one of my favorite starts of all time, Kyle Hendricks, 2016 NLCS Game 6. He outdueled Clayton Kershaw. He was amazing in that game. That was 8 years ago. He's not that same Kyle Hendricks. He has a 7.89 road ERA this year. And even if we didn't isolate the road, he's allowing a 301 average and 830 OPS this season. That's not a split. That's just everybody hitting against him is basically an all-star. The Dodgers averaged 5.41 runs per game in August, over 5 runs a game since the All-Star break, now that they're mostly full strength. Mookie Betts is hot. Shohei Ohtani atop the lineup there. I expect them to jump right on Hendricks in the first inning. I know that I've had some people asking about home run props in the chat recently. Shohei Ohtani would be a very good one. He might even lead off the game with a home run against Hendricks. Also, if you wanted to look elsewhere, Jose Ramirez in Chicago. He's going to be hitting from the left side against Nick Nastrini. Nastrini allows home runs in that ballpark. That would be a good play as well. Also, I saw somebody in the chat say Caleb Williams is awful. What a waste of a pick. Really? We're doing that after one game.
It's been 60 minutes. 60. Listen, I'm not a Caleb Williams guy, but you can't, it's not case closed after one game or frankly, even one
Even
season.
if he was amazing, it wouldn't have meant it was a good pick.
Right. Although I will say this, Larry, I do have to get your comment here before we get to Mike's pick. And I think there's going to be some baseball questions for you later on in the show, Sniper, that we'll flush out.
Yeah.
Bryce Young, are we thinking this is going to go how it's been going? Or I understand Dave Canales is the QB whisperer, but I got to be honest, it didn't look good last year. It didn't look like he was savable in terms of looking anything close to a number 1 pick. Your thoughts on how this is going to go for Carolina rest of the way?
too early to jump ship on Bryce Young and Dave Canales. Let's give them some time. I mean, it was very disheartening. I was on Carolina. Very disheartening to see the way they came out. What's worse to me is their defense. Without Brian Burns, no pressure at all. I think Derek Carr was pressured one time in the first half, and when he sits back in a clean pocket, Derek Carr is a very good quarterback without pressure. So to me, that was even more disheartening than Bryce Young.
Yeah, it didn't look great. I have a feeling, I hate to call it, but I don't think Bryce Young is going to be that guy. I don't think he's going to be a starting quarterback in the league next year. Maybe that's not even a controversial statement at this point. We'll have to wait and see. A lot of questions about CMC and some other props. We're actually going to get to this, so hang on. I want to answer some of these for you as well. And I know Mike has a pick on the game, and he's saying be careful on backing CMC tonight. We'll get to that too. But if you want to make any of these bets that you're about to hear or the bets that you just heard from Sniper, new BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10, and you'll receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get to some football, and we're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
You hear that? It's the steady pulse of the world's game that's turning fans into family and sports into passion. You hear that? It's the heartbeat of American soccer. The USL on CBS Sports Network.
We are back on the Early Edge, presented by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. And spoiler alert, Mike McClure and I are on the same side, the same pick here. I might throw in a player prop. I'm waiting for a couple of things in terms of hearing about some player news and some health updates, but we'll wait and see on that if I put it on SportsLine. But Mike, we're going to start with you. I'll say this. When the lines opened up, this Jets line was +6, which was like, honestly, it felt a little disrespectful, almost as much as the Jets opening +240 to win the AFC East, which by the time we got to close or by the time the season started, it was like +150 in some markets. Talk to us about why you're backing the Jets tonight on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, see, I like the Jets here +4.5. You might have to play an alt line to find 4.5 at this point, but you can still get it between 114 and -118 if you shop in the right place at +4.5. When I look at this game, though, I make the spread 2 with all the considerations in terms of health on both sides. And the thing is, it's still highly speculative, right? We're very sure about one thing, and that's the defensive side of the ball on both teams, frankly. Two of the best defenses in the NFL. I do have some pretty big question marks, obviously, on both teams offensively. On paper, the Jets have gotten a lot better offensively, not only bringing back Aaron Rodgers, but having, actual weapons. Breece Hall healthy, Garrett Wilson, bringing in Mike Williams, a massive deep ball threat down the field. And then Allen Lazard, a guy that Aaron Rodgers has some chemistry with. But yes, as we all know, the games are not played on paper. They are played on a football field. I do still like some of the individual matchups here, though. When I look at this linebacking core for the Jets over the middle of the field, when you're talking about dealing with a limited and banged up CMC, I think that that's going to be a positive matchup for the Jets here. So I think Niners are going to have to be a little more creative here. I think we see a lot of Deebo Samuel used in certain situations, but I'm highly speculating on CMC. I think he is extremely limited in this game. Wouldn't shock me if he's more of a decoy than anything. You can see this rushing prop line down to 71.5 in a few spots. I think it closes in the upper 60s, which is a good 25 to 30 yards off of a normal CMC line. And then Brandon Ayuk, definitely going to be on a snap limit in this game. I'm very, very confident on that. So I will be avoiding Ayuk. We'll be avoiding CMC for sure. But I think the Jets can do enough in a very low scoring game to keep this within a very key number here at 4.5.
Yeah, I totally agree. And by the way, this is kind of one of the reasons we want you to join SportsLine, is because these 4.5s were available over the weekend. It does look like it's 4, 3.5, and pretty much everywhere now. Again, you can shop the alt line and pay a little bit of juice. But real quick, if you want to join SportsLine, sportsline.com/join, you get 60% off the annual plan. All you got to do is type in the promo code winners. Again, go to sportsline.com/join to get our picks when we make them. I'll just pick up on, because my pick is the same here. And again, I do, especially because of the CMC issues, and we'll see. Sometimes CMC, like, we don't think he's going to play a full complement of snaps, and then we remember Kyle Shanahan is the coach and he runs out there 20, 23 times. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But because of what Mike thinks, and because of that calf injury, which could be an actual issue. I kind of like Deebo Samuel overs rushing and receiving because I do think he'll get involved. I think the total on him, and I'm looking at it now, is 65.5. It's something to consider, something I'm considering as an official play, but my official play right now is the Jets plus 4.5. The Jets are the much healthier team on both sides of the ball. Of course, we have Aaron Rodgers. We have an improved offensive line. And let's not forget that not only do we have CMC with a potential issue, Brandon Ayuk barely back in camp, Trent Williams barely back in camp, but the defensive side of the ball, the Niners don't have Gross Matos. They don't have Dre Greenlaw. They don't have Hufanga at safety. Like, there's a lot of issues across the front seven and the back end. That's still a good defense, don't get me wrong, but they're missing a lot of their guys. And now you have Aaron Rodgers on this offense. He's got skilled players. He's got Breece Hall, who's likely going to be quite efficient, in my opinion, or at least get a lot of yards, receiving yards and rushing yards, another prop I'm considering. I just think 4.5 is way too much. And if you get this at 3.5, I still think it's a good line. But again, I go to Mike on shopping for the 4.5s. If you have to take an alt line and pay just a little bit more juice, I do think that's the play. Speaking of plays and speaking of Breece Hall, Larry, you have a play on Breece Hall. What is it?
I'm so high on Breece Hall this season, but specifically in this game to get at least 4 catches. Played this over 3.5 at minus 135. I'm seeing it up to minus 150, minus 160. I would go as high as minus 150. I don't mind a smaller play at plus money when it's over 4.5, because this guy led the NFL in receptions last season among running backs, and you have a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles tear with no preseason action in a hostile environment at night. He is going to be looking to dump the ball off to Breece Hall. He is the 3-down back. He is everything for this Jets offense. Mike Williams' snaps will be limited. So you have Garrett Wilson, you have Breece Hall, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to look his way early and often. You know, they're going to hand him the ball a ton. I mean, he's just going to get a massive workload. You can play Breece Hall a lot of ways. This is the way I decided to play it.
Yeah, I think Breece Hall receiving yards, and the Niners are susceptible to screens and just that kind of the quick throws, especially with the injuries that they have. I considered Breece Hall's combo line, but it got kind of out of control. I think it's at like 94.5 at this point. So I think that's a pretty efficient line. I'm not going there either way. There was a question in this game. Jeffrey Aguilar says, any thoughts on the team total or over under tonight? I lean to the over. Mike, I'm going to ask you this because I did look at the Jets team total. Because I was thinking about taking the over, but 19.5 seems like a good line there. What are you thinking in terms of points in this game?
Slight under lean, but the value is most definitely sucked out of this now when we had 46s available. 44, especially in this kind of matchup, is just an extremely key number. So I'd have a hard time going under 43 or lower. Do lean that way. If you said, Mike, I need you to make a total play on this game right now, even though we've lost the better number of 24.5, the play for me would still be San Francisco team total 23.5 under. Would be if you said I had to make a play. I've obviously not made that play here. The only thing I also could consider is if we get a touchdown first 3 to 4 minutes of the game on an opening drive, whether it's a deep ball to Mike Williams, a deep ball to Brandon Ayuk, something like that, that is where I would look at a live under. I do think either one of these teams could have success with a scripted drive, especially the 49ers and Shanahan's team. And then I would look for an under at that point. But personally, I am out on the total at the current numbers.
Yeah, we got Taylor DeHart saying Purdy interception. I don't hate that play. We know when he gets pressured, he's susceptible to throwing an errant ball. Nicholas says Conley first touchdown plus 5,000. I'm just going to go ahead and give out a first touchdown right now because Get Dat Parlay says first touchdown Garrett Wilson. I do like that, especially since it's 10-1. But you know I'm going tight end, right? On the team that's the underdog, Tyler Conklin. I think you can get him at between 25 and 30-1. You're going to get first touchdowns tonight at 7:15 on the primetime show, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw out Tyler Conklin at 25, 30-1 as your first touchdown score. Sniper, I want to get through and see if there's any other questions or props to get to that maybe me, Mike, or Larry can answer, but any baseball stuff while we were talking.
Yeah, there's been several questions that I tried to answer a lot of them in the chat, but I was asked about in the Marlins Pirates game, if Paul Skeens to get a win. I don't love that because they're probably limiting to him to about 5 innings, and their bullpen has been so unreliable. Somebody else asked about Pirates first 5. Yes, we like that. Skeens against Belozo there. Somebody asked about Yankees on the run line at home against the Royals. Do not like that at all. Brady Singer's good. Carlos Rodon is incredibly inconsistent and totally hard to predict. And the total, somebody asked me about the total on that game. I'm staying away again because Rodon's just so unpredictable. It could go either way. He could deal, he could get shelled. And then I was asked about Cubs Dodgers over 9.5. Yeah, I mean, I think the Dodgers are going to carry that one, but Walker Buehler on the hill for the Dodgers has been completely unreliable as well. And the Cubs have hit the ball this past weekend, notwithstanding, pretty well recently.
Mike, did you have something?
It wasn't for baseball. Just something great came across for the NFL game. So when we get back to talking props, okay,
let's get back to it.
Yeah, you have to shop around for it, but there is an interesting line out there for combo yards, rushing and receiving yards to lead the game. You can currently find Breece Hall plus 210. McCaffrey is the favorite for rushing and receiving yards combo. Their lines are set around 112 versus 97, but that plus 210 price point on Breece Hall suggests he only outproduces Christian McCaffrey in yards 32% of the time. Considering the matchup, the usage, and the injuries here, I think that number should be much closer to 40, a 60-40 split. And you could even talk me into being 50-50 if McCaffrey is as limited as I think he is, because I think it's more than an ankle. I think it's an Achilles that he's really worried about. Mm-hmm. I like Breece Hall plus 210 to lead the game, rushing and receiving yards.
It sounds to me like you think that number should be somewhere in the plus 110 to plus 150 range for Breece Hall.
Yeah, plus 135 roughly is where I think a fair market price would be. Plus 210, I think, is extreme value.
All right, let's have a little bit of fun. Larry and Mike. Larry, I'm going to go to you first for, I know you're not going to be on the primetime show later tonight. We need a first touchdown from you, but real quick before you give one out, Mark Buckholtz, you say any thoughts on Brandon Ayuk tonight? I was looking at Brandon Ayuk unders in this game. I actually looked at his longest reception under 21.5. I didn't get there as an official play. His reception under I was looking at because I was hoping it would be at 4.5. It's at 3.5. So that one I'm probably staying away from, but I do lean towards the receptions under at plus money and the longest reception under of 21.5 or 22.5 at basically, minus 110, minus 115. Larry, first touchdown score.
How about Kyle Juszczyk, a guy who was used a lot as a receiver down the stretch? You look at how they used him in the playoffs. I'm looking at his receiving yards, which is set at 4.5. It's basically one catch. He did cash that. I think it was 4 of the last 6. And if McCaffrey is as banged up as you guys are suggesting, I think that only increases the chances of Juszczyk making a play.
Juszczyk, Jordan Mason, Deebo Samuel all benefit from CMC getting less touches. And we know if Juszczyk does it, it's going to be on the first series, probably the first, second, or third play of the game. So I can't wait for that to cash. Mike McClure, first touchdown score. You got somebody?
I want to look on the Jets side. Typically incentivized to look at road underdogs, just slightly better, market value on that situation. The two guys I'll mention, I haven't bet anything yet, still digging in, but it's going to be Allen Lazard and Braylon Allen. I'm going to look at Breece Hall's backup. I could definitely see a long Breece play that lands inside the 5 or 10. I do think Allen could get a few goal line carries to protect some of Breece's health overall this season as well. But if I had to play something now, it would be Allen Lazard, who has a little chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, but certainly option number 3 or 4 in the red zone. Definitely the guy that'll see the least amount of attention.
Okay, like the play. And of course, you're going to get a lot more of these plays on the primetime show tonight at 7:15 on this channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on Spotify and, of course, on Apple Pod. Sniper, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm 1 for 1 on first touchdown after hitting King Henry on Thursday.
Nice,
so I'm gonna throw one out with George Kittle plus 850.
All right. Well, typically, just Sniper, typically we go plus 1,000 or above. But okay, you know what? No, we don't have, listen, you hit the first one.
Well, I was actually right. So, but
that's the thing.
He was one of the chalk picks though by the odds, but I still, yeah. Okay.
No, what was your play for the first touchdown tonight?
I said Kittle. He was plus 8.
No, we're not changing it. We're not changing it. Okay. You're batting literally 1,000. It's George Kittle tonight. I might have to bet that as well.
I'll follow the rules after this if I hit this one.
Chris Kish, you're saying we need the buckets interception prop. I'm pretty sure he's 4 for 4. He's like putting these out on Twitter. And nobody should be listening to his interception props except for the fact that they're also hitting at 100% rate. So just something to consider there. All right, let's see if there's anything else. Let's take a look at the recap screen here. Jets plus 4.5. Okay, me and Mike McClure on the same play here. I might update my picks with a prop. I mentioned Deebo Samuel. I mentioned some unders with Brandon Ayuk. So we'll see if I have anything else for you on SportsLine. Again, we told you how to join. Sniper, Phillies -1.5 at +105, and the Dodgers team total over 5.5 at +114. And the Maestro, Breece Hall, over 3.5 receptions at -135. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot more picks are available on SportsLine right now. We've got the primetime show. We do that for every single primetime game, so you're going to want to tune into that. And again, now is the time to join SportsLine because we've got baseball. We've got basketball coming up in about 5 weeks. We've got the NFL, of course, college football, all of our picks. This show is a microcosm of the picks SportsLine has to offer. All of our picks are up at sportsline.com. Again, /join to join. Type in promo code winners to get 60% off the annual plan. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you later tonight on the Early Edge Primetime Show. On behalf of the Maestro, Sniper, Mike McClure, and of course, Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. Let's have a very positive Monday. Let's cash some tickets. Let's have a winning recap screen when I see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. Have a great Monday, everybody. This is the Early Edge. I'm the Counselor of Cash, and we rest our case.